Chuck Norris has spent 6 decades letting his kicks do the talking, slicing through baddies on screen while keeping his private grudges locked away like classified files. So when the 84-year-old legend dabbed at teary eyes during a rare 2025 sit-down and whispered, "I'm done staying quiet," the room fell silent. In one breath, he revealed something no fan or critic saw coming. 5 famous actors had crossed a line so badly that he could no longer hold his tongue. Why now? Part of the answer lies in the weight of a lifetime. He's lost a brother in war, watched internet memes turn him into both a myth and a punchline, and buried personal heartbreak under a disciplined smile. Yet behind the granite jaw, every snub, cheap shot, and betrayal has been quietly catalogued. At 84, the man who once joked he doesn't sleep, he waits, has decided the waiting is over. Tonight, we'll trace how a shy Oklahoma boy became America's first martial arts megastar, how internet folklore made him larger than life, and most importantly, what finally snapped his legendary restraint. By the end, you'll know who triggered his rare public ire and why their names cut deeper than any on-screen villain. But first, to understand the fury, you need to see how the fire was forged. Because the journey from bullied kid to global icon is jaw-dropping enough, but the grudges forged along the way, those might just roundhouse kick everything you thought you knew about Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris's legend began in the least legendary way imaginable, as a painfully shy kid named Carlos, struggling through dusty afternoons in Ryan, Oklahoma. His father's drinking binges and his parents' divorce left him the quiet guardian of 2 younger brothers, more worried about rent than recess. Bullies noticed his silence long before they noticed any strength, and school offered few hints of future greatness. Average grades, no sports trophies, barely a ripple. Everything changed in 1958 when the Air Force shipped him to South Korea and the base gym introduced him to Tang Soo Do. For the first time, discipline felt like freedom. Hours that once vanished into worry now disappeared into front kicks and breathing drills, each strike chiseling away doubt. By the end of his tour, he wore a black belt, a new nickname, Chuck, and the conviction that skill could beat circumstance. Back in California, he opened a tiny karate studio while waiting on a police department call that never came. Students were scarce, so he scrubbed the mats at dawn and handed out flyers at night. Persistence paid off. One studio became half a dozen. One nervous beginner became the middleweight champion who would hold that crown 6 straight years. Yet victory carried a scar, news that his brother Wyland had fallen in Vietnam. The loss carved a resolve deeper than any trophy. Whatever Chuck built from then on had to honor the sibling who never got a second act. Those triumphs and that heartbreak set the stage for Hollywood to come calling, even if he had no idea yet what kind of spotlight would follow. When Chuck swapped dusty dojos for a shoestring film called Breaker Breaker in 1977, critics shrugged, but audiences didn't. The little truck driver revenge flick raked in millions, revealing a hunger for an American martial arts hero. He doubled down with Good Guys Wear Black, smashing box office expectations, and more importantly, proving that karate could pull crowds without subtitles or Hong Kong backdrops. In an era still swooning over Bruce Lee's legacy, Chuck carved his own lane. U.S. soil, U.S. storylines, U.S. swagger. The hits rolled in like incoming roundhouse kicks. A force of one, the Octagon and Lone Wolf McQuaid cemented him as the everyman avenger, cut-and-dried justice, star-spangled grit. Studios couldn't buy that image fast enough. By 1980, for the Vietnam revenge epic Missing in Action made him a household name. The follow-ups Code of Silence and Delta Force turned that name into a brand. There was a fitness book, a Saturday morning cartoon, even an Atari-style video game called Chuck Norris Super Kicks. Proof that his clenched jaw heroism translated to kids, consoles, and dads alike. Then, after Walker, Texas Ranger retired his badge in 2001, he seemed to fade into memedom. But in 2024, at 84, Chuck kicked the door back open with the indie sci-fi thriller agent Recon. No stunt double could fake the slow, deliberate power in his on-screen movements, and fans noticed. The film didn't topple Marvel money, yet comment sections buzzed. He still got it. Instagram sealed the point when he posted a raw clip curling a staggering 540 pounds. 2 million likes in 48 hours. The comeback reminded everyone that beneath the jokes and internet lore beats a work ethic forged in real sweat. But newfound spotlight brings fresh eyes and sharper scrutiny. Next, we'll see how the digital age turned Chuck from action icon into living myth, and why that myth sometimes cuts deeper than the man himself. One December night in 2005, a snarky forum post declared, "Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the earth down." Within weeks, 1,000 copycat facts exploded across MySpace, college dorm whiteboards, and late-night talk shows. Suddenly, the veteran action star was recast as a cosmic force who counted to infinity, twice. The jokes amused Chuck at first. He even chuckled that some were pretty clever. But the meme balloon kept swelling, floating further from the flesh and blood grandfather who still limped on cold mornings. By 2012, the lore reached Budapest, where sculptor Mihai Kolodko installed a 6-inch bronze Chuck clinging one-handed to a bridge girder, a permanent wink to superhuman grip. In 2017, United Healthcare ran a primetime commercial of diners riffing on "Chuck Norris wears a hat to hide the sun," and social feeds erupted all over again. Each punchline piled another layer of mythology, until real achievements: 6 straight world titles, 170 screen credits, 13 grandkids, blurred beneath cartoon invincibility. The internet's love, however, is fickle. In October 2023, Twitter woke to a trending tag. #RIP Chuck Norris. A single fake obituary triggered global condolences before fact-checkers stomped it out. Days later, a Capitol riot photo of a look-alike painted him as an extremist. Chuck rushed online to deny he'd left his Texas ranch. Both scares cut deep, showing how fast fiction mutates into reputational shrapnel. He's joked that even death is afraid of Chuck Norris, but smear campaigns and hoaxes can wound in ways fists can't block. And when rumors snake into the arenas he values most, principles, patriotism, family, the quiet warrior isn't so quiet anymore. Long before social media turned every celebrity into a pundit, Chuck Norris was writing weekly opinion columns warning America that bad guys don't always wear black hats. He cast his ballot with the same force he used on screen, backing Ronald Reagan in the 80s, fist-bumping troops in Iraq in 2007, and urging voters to stand guard, with Mike Huckabee, Mitt Romney, and Donald Trump. But stances that thrilled one crowd often stunned another. In 2008, he championed California's Proposition 8, arguing marriage should remain one man, one woman. LGBTQ+ activists blasted the endorsement as a kick to civil rights, yet Chuck dug in, insisting disagreement wasn't hate but conviction. The next year, he demanded President Obama release a birth certificate to silence conspiracy chatter. Critics called it reckless. Supporters called it vigilance. Business moves drew fire, too, when Glock unveiled him as a brand ambassador in 2019. Amid headline after headline about school shootings, outrage flared. Norris countered that responsible gun owners shouldn't be punished for criminals, and sales of the Chuck-approved pistols spiked anyway. Even his 2021 video backing California's recall of Governor Gavin Newsom sparked a trending hashtag. Hashtag Roundhouse the Recall on one side, hashtag Walker Exit Stage Left on the other. Friends say the passing of his mother Wilma at 103 in late 2024 only steeled his resolve. She taught him faith and grit. Now, honoring her meant guarding those beliefs twice as fiercely. Yet, every public stand added a new fault line between Chuck and Hollywood's glittering mainstream. To many fans, he's the last honest ranger. To some colleagues, he's a relic swinging morality like a pair of nunchucks. And for 5 actors in particular, those values felt less like integrity and more like a personal blow. The first name on Chuck's private blacklist is Jean-Claude Van Damme. Long before the muscles from Brussels became a brand, he worked the door at Norris's Marina del Rey bar. Early camaraderie soured when a joint movie collapsed in the 90s. Rumors blame Van Damme's late-night partying and creative differences. Chuck later scolded him at a Texas martial arts expo, calling his discipline a Hollywood invention. Next comes Steven Seagal. In 1991, the ponytailed newcomer mocked Bruce Lee and dismissed Norris as movie karate. Chuck's friend Bob Wall gathered a dozen legends, the Dirty Dozen, and dared Seagal to back up his mouth in a real dojo. Seagal declined, and the refusal still raises eyebrows whenever martial arts veterans swap war stories. The most openly political clash is with Alec Baldwin. Baldwin's hammy Donald Trump parody on Saturday Night Live drew roars of laughter, and one blistering Norris column labeling certain Hollywood elites a threat to national unity. Baldwin never answered publicly, but industry insiders say the dig felt personal. Baldwin lampooned Norris's favored president. Norris questioned Baldwin's patriotism. Fourth is Shia LaBeouf. Proof that age gaps can spark fire. Sources on a late 2010s commercial shoot claim LaBeouf's method-acting tirades shredded set morale. Chuck, raised on yes sir professionalism, allegedly confronted him off-camera. Months later, Norris posted, "Fame without discipline is chaos." He named no names, yet everyone in that soundstage read between the roundhouse lines. Finally, an odd one, Vin Diesel. The 2005 forum meme that birthed Chuck Norris Facts started as fans roasting Diesel's family comedy The Pacifier. While Norris laughed along, friends say he never forgot that Diesel's flop was the original punchline. When parody piles on a colleague to crown you king, humility demands distance. Diesel's camp, however, felt Chuck rode the wave a bit too gladly. All 5 stories are stitched from eyewitness accounts, old interviews, and hushed hallway chatter. But taken together, they show a man who rarely swings first, yet never forgets a strike. And with cameras rolling in 2025, he decided the world deserved the unfiltered list. Chuck Norris never asked to be mythologized, but he learned to navigate the strange terrain between legend and man. From the dusty alleys of Ryan, Oklahoma, to a bronze miniature dangling off a Budapest bridge, his life shows how discipline can launch you past every limitation, and how public adoration can mutate into blind caricature. The shy kid with a drunk dad became a world champion. The grieving brother became Hollywood's first homegrown kung fu hero, and the stoic veteran morphed into an endless scroll of internet facts. Yet beneath every punchline and billboard, the core remained unchanged. Faith, family, and an unbending code of respect. That code, though, doesn't play by Hollywood's velvet rope rules. Jean-Claude's party flair, Seagal's braggadocio, Baldwin's satire, LaBeouf's chaos, even Diesel's meme collateral, all clashed with Chuck's insistence on honor first, spotlight second. By naming those grudges aloud, he risked fraying the myth that kept him untouchable. But maybe that was the point. After all, legends feel distant. Confessing hurt makes them human again. Now the question hangs heavier than any roundhouse. Does revealing the scars dull the shine, or does it prove the metal is real? At 84, Chuck seems unbothered by the answer. He's teasing a second agent Recon, mentoring wounded vets at his Texas ranch, and promising to stay lethal until the bell rings. Whether any of his 5 rivals clap back or shrug it off, his place in pop culture is already etched deeper than a boot print